when we talk about out-of-band CASB and out-of-band protection, remember all of that implementation is done via API. What that means is we have deep integration with all of these applications that you are seeing on the screen. We had to work with these application vendors to protect your data at rest. So the applications today, we support all Office 365 app, your OneDrive and SharePoint and Microsoft Teams and Exchange. We support all Google apps. We support Salesforce and Box and Dropbox, Citrix, ShareFile, GitHub. At the same time, we are also supporting public cloud infrastructure like S3 Bucket, Azure Blob, and GCP storage. So when you think about out-of-band CASB, out-of-band data protection, there are primarily two big ticket items. One is how do you prevent data loss? The second topic is how do you deal with known and unknown threats? So, when you try to do data loss prevention for your data at rest scanning, essentially what we are doing is we are utilizing the same DLP policies that you have built for your inline, and we are utilizing those DLP policies first to identify your sensitive assets that are sitting in the cloud, right? So if your users uploaded 20 gigs of data in your OneDrive and SharePoint, with your DLP policy, first we will scan all that data. And based on those DLP policies, first we will identify which assets have sensitive information. And once we identify those sensitive information, then our primary focus is going to be how do we protect data exposure. So simple example, if HR creates a folder in my SharePoint or OneDrive and uploads all employees' PII information, we want to make sure that during the collaboration process, they did not make a mistake. They did not expose that folder with a public URL or external link. If a developer in your organization is using Git repo, uploading company-specific source code, we want to make sure that source code is not shared with an external collaborator called foo@gmail.com, right? So simple policy, you select your cloud applications, your application tenant, you attach the same DLP engine, and then you tell us when we find these external collaborators, external link, do you want us to just send you an alert, or do you want us to automatically remove this exposure? And using API, we can take all kinds of remediation action. Now for malware, the policy is pretty straightforward. You select your application and we will start scanning all your data at rest, and we will look for malicious content. So if an external collaborator injected a PDF, happens to be a known malware, let's say running macro, we will identify that asset has malicious content and we will trigger quarantine action. If we find an asset that is completely unknown, then we can sandbox that unknown content. We will get a verdict from our cloud sandbox, and then we will trigger remediation action. When you think about data at rest scanning, there are two types of scanning going on. One is retro scan. That means at the time you onboard your application, whatever data that is already sitting there, we will execute policies on those existing content. The data at rest scanning also means the iterative scan. That means from today onwards, whatever new assets that are coming, we will get a webhook notification from this application vendor saying that there is a new asset that just arrived or an existing asset has been modified. And that webhook then will trigger our DLP policies and malware policy, and then we will take different type of quarantine action.